And that sound means it's the start of another Missal for the Masses. I'm your host, Gary.
And I'm Casey.
And I'm Sal.
And this is the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod. This is the podcast that's centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe, a real American hero toy line from 1982 to the present day. We also talk G.I. Joe and connected comics, and sometimes figures and other military and adventure toy lines and comic books. And you might have heard an extra voice, and that is my good friend Sal. So Sal, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Fun to be here.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while now.
Yeah.
And so have you gotten anything recently related to toys?
No, well, you know this, Gary. I'm going through all my toys that I have acquired through the years, mostly in my childhood, but definitely some later on. And I'm trying to sort through what I want to keep, what I want to get rid of. But it's kind of like I already have separation anxiety and I haven't even gotten rid of anything yet. But so it's kind of the deciding factor of like, well, it'd be great to sell a lot of this stuff, but then I don't have it. So it's like, how can I have both?
It's hard when it's your childhood stuff.
Yeah, it's all nostalgia for me. But I also have a lot between G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Masters of the Universe, like Mask, all the classics.
Yeah, Casey likes the Motu.
Yeah, I know he's a Masters guy.
Yeah, I'm a Motu guy with a G.I. Joe podcast. But I love both.
Yeah, Casey has a shirt. It's his podcast from the pit about G.I. Joe, and you say it best, Casey.
It says a G.I. Joe podcast with a little Motu.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, anything new with you, Casey? Anything going on?
Worked like 50 hours this week. That's terrible. But, I could use the money. Because expensive hobbies. I've got some more cartoon collection. I got the Skeletor. He's like a ghost Skeletor.
Oh, nice.
I've seen a good review of him. You shine a light behind him, it shines through him. He's translucent. It's pretty cool.
Oh, kind of like Crystar.
Yeah. It's from one specific Filmation episode.
Kind of like your Doctor Who shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Cartoon collection Frosta. She's from the Princess of Power line.
All right.
I should probably get my granddaughter one too, so when she's older enough, she can play with it. She can't have mine. And I'm a buzz off in the cartoon collection. So pretty excited for this. And I don't know, you guys aren't from Indiana, but there is a huge toy store called the Toy Pit. And you can look it up online. It's really nice. Going there tomorrow after we do our show in the morning.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
How are they not sponsoring your show?
Nobody's sponsoring us.
He's sponsoring their show.
Yeah, I am more than happy to tell people about toy stores I go to.
Yeah, don't really have too much in Connecticut anymore. But
thankfully, because it only leads to even worse habits with buying stuff.
It starts with G.I. Joe, and then the next thing you know, it's black tar heroin.
Yeah.
Joe was my gateway drug when I got back into it.
Yeah. Speaking of gateway drugs, I finally got my In the Navy figures.
Saw that.
Yeah.
They look good.
So, they look good. It's kind of my honest opinion, I think they rushed them a little bit. I would have rather have had more solid updates, but the torso thing, because now I'm going to get more torsos and I'm still 2 figures away from having everything I ordered. So it's kind of just like, because I ordered, between me and my friend, we ordered 3 crew deck people. So we got 3 mustard, 3 relish, and 3 ketchup. And I only got one ketchup and 1 relish. So And Sal's looking at us like, what?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're basically like, air crew, with like the wands, or like
Yep.
they're gonna fill, your gas tank up or something on the deck.
They stopped your plane too. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're different colors for different roles,
Okay.
and I just got shorted on a couple of them, so I'm just waiting for those to fill up. Every one of them I had to take apart. Every one of them I had to take a pair of pliers and I had to twist the T hook
Hmm.
so it would stop involuntary twisting of the torso. Overall, the screws are fresh, so it's not like an old figure where you know where to stop with the screw.
Yeah.
So now it's like when you take them apart and then you put it back in, you're like, am I going too far? Am I going too far? Am I going too far? And I did have one, I don't want to say it broke, but when I was tightening it, I did, going gentle, I heard it go click, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm gonna hold
Back
off.
off a little bit. It's
Yeah,
fine.
just leave it alone, and make sure it has a stiff neck, and just drop off. But overall, typical O-ring construction. Love the swivel wrists. That is by far the thing that they've needed since 1986.
Yeah.
Because when I had my original bat, that swivel wrist, he rode my ferret. And what else? Yeah, and they have ball jointed necks like modern figures, but then they have like a ball neck going into the torso. So it works pretty good. And they got multiple heads and multiple hands. So overall, I am happy with them.
Right.
But are they perfect? No. I mean, you can't compare, these figures really to like Delta 17 or even Grindstone Toys.
Yeah. Because I say that Skeletron O-rings are amazing too.
Yep.
The Ghost. But you have them in hand. That's the thing.
Yeah. But you don't know until you have them in hand.
Right.
It's like they're cool items. They're things. I'm happy that they're going to be on my flag. But if, I was to hand them to my son, I'm much like, I don't know how they would hold up compared to some of the other offerings.
I think most people just get them for their flag. I think that's what it is. I should have gone for mine. Then I'd have more of an excuse to put it back out.
And they'll probably be at Joe Fest.
Yeah. But I seen a picture on Instagram yesterday of pallets of fresh Delta 17 boxes for Joe Fest stuff. So gonna be spending some money there, get those exclusives and the Hellstorms and probably some more troop builders. I'm starting to really love the Delta squads.
Yeah, the Delta, like I said, right now they're the standard.
Yeah.
For the whole line. Like, I get it. So keep working those 50-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Get some more Delta 17 money.
My boss is like, you want some overtime? I'm like, what? No, need, yes.
But all right. Well, I think Sal, you got anything else you want to share right now or at the moment, or
probably not. Other than I'm, a little in the dark on some of these things. But filthy casual as you could get it probably on this show.
No, that's fine. Plus, you can talk more about what your projects are at the tail end.
Sure.
Because I really got to say, it's not a party without Sal mentioning Robber Baron's Inc. somewhere, and they're fine T-shirts.
Yeah, I like the one that you gave me at Joe Fest 2 years ago.
Yes,
it's soft. The print's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, Sal, you can't get a cut of 0, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, never hurts to try. Just holding out.
Yeah, this is not a paid endorsement. But anyway, so we're here on Sal's second suggestion of talking about 1984's mail away G.I. Joe MANTA. MANTA stands for Marine Assault Nautical Transport Air Driven. This came in a sealed bag. Looking at the screen provided by 3D Joe's, an excellent resource for G.I. Joe toys.
It's my go-to whenever I need to do a little research. 3D Joes.
Yeah, the best pictures and the best 3D rotating images, the only 3D rotating images as far as I know. But why would I go to any other website? Yeah, so 3D Joe's, you know, and Sal and I myself, we have the Manta in front of us, but Casey's going to be working on getting his first Manta over the course of the next couple of months.
You know, I was told today that it's 8 weeks until Joe Fest. Today. I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's almost here.
7 more weeks of overtime.
Yeah. And I will too.
So normally we start off by talking about the box. So there's no driver, so there's no file card. So it's really now, I think the first part is we'll just go over, describe the toy in a little bit. And Sal, you want to describe the toy to the listeners?
It's basically a windsurfer. I mean, it has a sort of like an outrigger, I guess you'd call it, on holding it up. Yeah, with a nice little Manta camouflage sail. I don't know what else you'd really say. You know, you got your gun because it's G.I. Joe. There's definitely a lot less to look at here.
Yeah. This is.
I could use some artwork, some nice artwork of him, like, you know, hitting a wave, like launching off a wave with or something, shooting while he's surfing.
Yeah, I was wondering about getting like a, Surfing USA parody for this episode. I'm like, no, it's gonna be too much work.
I'm starting to think, and I know it's 80s, and I'm telling everybody how old I am, but the movie Top Secret with Val Kilmer,
Yeah.
skeet surfing, that just popped in my head when this came up. It's so funny. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
All right.
It's stupid funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in about since it came out, probably.
Oh, it's been a good 20, 25 years since I've seen it.
Yeah, but I remember it being funny.
Is that a missile down there on the little outrigger?
Or a torpedo.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But yeah, like even a surfboard in G.I. Joe needs a machine gun mounted and a missile / torpedo. Yeah, that's a great thing about early Joe. I love it. It's like, what would make this vehicle better? More guns.
Weapons.
Always.
More guns, more foot pegs.
You'd have to wonder about the practical use of this thing, though. Not to I know it is a toy, but how because the gun is mounted on the other side from where you stand, basically. So he has to like reach around.
Well, so if most guns, see, he has a remote in his right hand. So on 3D Joe's, Stalker is
that's what that is,
piloting the Manta, surfing on the Manta.
Yeah, well, I have this toy. I don't think probably somewhere I don't have the gun or the remote.
Yeah, the remote always breaks off the gun. That is the hardest part. And it's the reason when we get into a little bit of how we got ours. But like, that's the reason why I did what I did when I got my Manta, was because I wanted one with the gun. And it was like, I had like 3 or 4 of them, but the guns were either missing or broken, just like, what you're doing now. But
as absurd as this is, though, I think the most absurd part is the backpack, which I totally forgot about. I do have that somewhere. I know I've seen that around. Now that I see it, I'm like, oh yeah. The fact that this whole thing packs up and you're supposed to wear it in a backpack.
I like the fact that it more than doubles the height of the figure.
Yeah. It doesn't look very comfortable.
No. And Sal, you've had this when you were a kid. Did you ever just like use the backpack part of the toy like as part of your playtime, or are you just like?
I don't think so. I was one of those kids who liked playing with their G.I. Joe outside. Which is probably, it kind of shows when I look at this. The sail's very mangled. So and I also had like a stream in my backyard and everything. So I was always big on playing outside, and that's probably why like a lot of my G.I. Joe that I had as a kid, there was a lot of like, I had the whale, I had the snow cat, the various things that I feel like if they could go in water or play in the snow, those were the things I had. And I definitely remember playing with this outside, and I was pretty much only probably concerned about the the constructed version of it. Like, I don't think it's that fun to pack it up and just, first of all, the figure's never going to stand up. Like, it's a pretty, even in the picture, he's like hunched over from having a bad back from carrying this thing.
If you look really closely on the 3D view as he's spinning around, if you look at his left foot, he's on a peg.
Yeah.
He's on a peg holding him up.
Like, because the figure would have to literally be like hunched over at a 45-degree angle, I think, to hold it up.
Oh, but yeah, so a little bit about that. So normally after we talk about the box, we go into the blueprints, and there's a lot of documentation on 3D Joes as I'm scrolling down. So I love blueprints. Every regular listener knows we go through the blueprints and we go through all the points of interest as pointed out on the blueprints. There are 13 points of interest, Sal. So what do you think? Is that a lot of points for this little toy, or do you think that's just enough?
Yeah, I was kind of impressed with the amount, especially because I know on some of the other, more elaborate vehicles and things, they don't have much more sometimes. So they really milked this for all it was worth.
The worst one is the jump. The worst one by far so far that I've done on the podcast is the jump. That had like 30. It was just like nuts. It's like,
But it's like they have the window on the. I mean, I guess you got to for branding, but
well, it ain't a G.I. Joe fight unless there's branding involved.
yeah.
So, all right. So we'll go through the 13 points reasonably quickly. Number 1 is the mast flotation cap. So it's just like the little bulbous thing at the top of the mast. And then 2, the low stretch mainsail. And that's pointing to the vinyl sail that would be packaged with the, and then it has the little manta cutout on it. But we'll get to that in point 9. So number 3 is the disassembly tool that Sal obviously never used. So the disassembly tool is like a little lever that's molded into the surfboard of the Manta. And then point number 4 is the first aid kit, which is also molded into the top of the surfboard. Number 5, we have the 30 caliber rapid fire machine gun. And I buy that. It looks a little bit like an oversized version of Stalker's machine gun. We get 6, the quick release pins. So the quick release pins are on the outrigger. So they're near the, what would you call those? The stanchions, the parts that hold the outrigger to the main surfboard that prevents us during play from falling over. We get number 7, the Missal. So it's not a torpedo case. So you're right. It's a missile.
I had a 50-50 shot of being right.
Then we get to number 8, the missile launch mechanism, which is next to the missile on the outrigger. Now, I think it's weird that you have a launch mechanism, but there's no real way for the figure to interact with it.
He'd have to lean backwards to hit it too. And when that missile launches, I don't think this thing is, staying stable after a missile launches off of a wind surfboard.
But it'll look cool.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah. One thing is it safe? Get a little hot foot. And is it physically possible? Well, it's G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
It's fun. Number 10, we get the machine gun remote control, commonly broken. And then we get, I skipped number 9, the Manta window. So I think that's pretty neat. I think that's a great way of, they're calling it a window. So maybe in the Manta in the real world, if this was to be blown up, would be like, that would be a clear portion of the sail. So this way you can see to the other side of the sail.
Yeah, so you can see what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a big blind spot. Otherwise,
Exactly. I think it's we'll talk about it, but there are multiple foot pegs on the Manta board. We get number 11, the outrigger supports. 12, we get the twin rail boom. And then 13 is the mooring latch, which is basically a little hook at the back of the surfboard. So the other thing too I want to point out on the mold is there's 3 foot pegs on the Manta. So you can fit 3 figures on the Manta, but I don't know if it would surf too well with 3 figures.
I'm sure I probably did at some point. As a kid, this thing was loaded up. It was like a party.
It's really fun, and that's why I was so happy when you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, this thing's like, there's not a lot of ridiculous Joe vehicles. Or is this ridiculous?
Yeah,
somebody
no,
can-
I think it is.
It is. Yeah.
So Casey, if you had the Manta, or when you get your Manta, where are you going to put it? What are you going to do with it?
It's going to go on my shelf over there with the other Joe vehicles. But if I had it as a kid, like him, I would have taken it down to the little creek, played with it in little streams. I would have had a lot of fun with it, for sure.
I keep mine. Mine's usually docked next to my transportable tactical battle platform. I leave it there, so this way, like wetsuit or shipwreck can jump on it, or torpedo.
Now, if I put my flag back out, I might put it on there.
Yeah, Casey, you got to get your flag back out.
I know. I got some cleaning I got to do. Every time I'm like, well, I've got these set up, then I buy more. And I'm like, well, I don't know where those are going to go now.
Well, I mean, you could always move your podcast setup to the deck of the flag.
I probably could. I got a friend who does reviews off the deck of his flag.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit about the history of the Manta from 3 3/4 Joe, which is now creating G.I. Joe, Volume 4. It was released in 1984, and it was designed by Bill Culbertson. It shows a picture of, presentation artwork and some sketches. And it goes on. You got the board, the sail mast, depth charges, and time bomb was the part of the original concept. And Bill Culbertson shared that he designed the Manta as a modified windsurfing board, of course, and it required a child to send in 5 flag points and $1, one whole dollar per Manta.
Bargain.
I absolutely. And I think it's fun that it was designed as a mail away only, but it's kind of like this thing could have been like something I would have bought this on the shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, this would have cost what? A figure was what, $250, and this could have been another $250.
Yeah, well, especially I feel like if you're putting in the effort to go through the mail away, like you'd probably buy it too, because it's a lot easier to buy it in a store than go through mailing away for it. But one thing I want to, when this came mailed away, how did it come packaged? Was it just like in a box?
No, well, yeah, you'd have a brown plain cardboard box. You open it up, and then it's just in a sealed plastic baggie, clear plastic baggie.
Okay.
And it was all disassembled on plastic trees, and we'll get a little bit. So it was, like I said, it was available from 84 to 87, but they had plenty of overstock. So in the early 90s, these were available at the G.I. Joe convention, the very first G.I. Joe conventions. And you could buy them, and they come with the G.I. Joe convention sticker on it. And that's how I bought mine. I bought mine. Somebody ended up with like 40 of them, and he was selling them in a Facebook group, and they were like $20 or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy a couple. And I did. And I bought the one that you're seeing here. This was built out of Hasbro overstock 4 or 5 years ago. And back when X was Twitter, I did a whole little thing, like all these little posts of me opening it up, cutting it open, assembling it.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember how I got it. I'm sure I was too excited it coming in the mail to, I probably just tore through it anyways. But I was like, it's a shame there wasn't at least a little art or something.
Yeah, I agree. I think you know what also is interesting about this? There's no stickers.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
right.
awesome. Stickers are my nemesis. I've never put them on.
So Casey, I'm only selling this harder for you, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty cool. I've never had one, never held one. Not even sure I've seen one at a show. I was looking for it, but I might
Well,
now.
well, just like when I talk to you, Casey, and when I talk to Hillbilly and everything, I love finding out what you guys are like. Oh, it's like I don't have this. Well, let me fix that somehow. I have my I have my stash.
Yeah, I mean, you've always come through. When I was trying to build my Night Raven, you
I
were
had
like,
a box
"Piece
of
of you missed."
version parts.
Yeah, I was like, "Perfect."
Yeah. No, that's the fun of collecting, you
It
know,
is.
helping others. But oh man. So I don't know. Is there anything else to say about this awesome Windsor? I can't wait to take pictures of this. Honestly, I can't wait. I didn't do one for our last episode. I didn't do pictures yet of the Dreadnoks,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't wait to figure out how I'm going to take pictures of this thing.
First time I seen it in a comic book, so I'm trying to remember who was on it. It might have been Rock and Roll
There were two of them. It
and
was
Torpedo and Rock and Roll.
yes, and they were supporting the APC as they were crossing. Oh God, what's the? It's the body of water between Staten Island and wherever Scarface's hideout was.
Coney Island,
Coney
right?
Island.
Yeah. Scarface has got to get made. I want him in a Super 7. I will buy that one.
Yeah, you do know there's a modern Scarface, right, Casey?
Not seen it.
All right, I'll send you a message later. But yeah, there is a modern Scarface.
Cool. Does he have
Um,
the mask and just see the scars? That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, he was part of a comic 2-pack, I want to say 37B with the Crimson Guardsman. And I literally bought it only because it got me my Scarface figure. Yeah, so I'll put that on social media. Why not? I'll do that tonight.
Check that out.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that was the other thing. And then do you guys remember this at all from Sunbow in the cartoon? It probably was in it.
Huh?
It probably was in it, but I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time pinpointing a favorite episode. Yeah, your dog's can't remember either.
Yeah, she's trying to tell me. I just can't understand her. Speak up, Molly.
Molly's like, we just saw it last night on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that to me the appearance in I want to say somewhere between 17 and about issue 17 is like the most notable appearance I have of the Manta in media. Other than that, let's see. I mean,
I think you should load this thing up with figures and see how it floats.
I usually do that. You've seen my pictures of my reels.
Yeah.
Like I do the backyard stream test.
Yeah. I think you guys see how many Joes can survive on this thing.
I don't think in moving water this is going to survive an instant.
I want to say it at least with one it floated. After that, I can't tell you, but
the best, and I can't talk about the Manta without mentioning our friends at GI Joburg. Steven over there, he did a video called Cobra Don't Surf, and it features Jinx on the Manta, and it's a really cool little short film he put on YouTube. So yeah, if you like the Manta discussion, I'll put
Jinx.
the link.
It's funny you mentioned Jinx because when I was a kid, I wanted Jinx so bad that I stole it from a toy store.
Oh.
I hope the statute of limitations is up on that. But I don't know why I remember, but I remember going to the KB toy store, and I don't know if my parents just wouldn't buy it because I was being difficult, or they were just like, not another. But for some reason, I remember like playing with the store, like all the packages were kind of like, and there were some that were loose, or for whatever, I don't even remember why. And I took one and I put it in my sock and I walked out the store. And I still have that Jinx somewhere. It's contraband. I don't know why Jinx, but I just really wanted Jinx. I was like,
I don't know if KB is still around to prosecute you
yeah, no, I don't think so.
to get their $2.75.
Yeah, so I'm confessing to crimes here, but ninjas. I was just really into ninjas.
Was the 80s.
Exactly.
The Jinx is really cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was yeah. So Sal, so you were collecting so we didn't really talk. So normally I do an intro. Oh, this is Sal. Sal, tell me about yourself. Well, we skipped all that. So Sal, this is the wrong time to do it. But so Sal, one question I ask everybody: what's your favorite vehicle?
The Tomahawk. That was always because it just looked friggin' cool. But I say I also liked a lot of the outdoor. I think I mentioned like the Snowcat and the Whale were also two of my favorites. Again, they were just cool outdoor toys. You could load them up with figures and all the missiles and everything. But yeah, the Tomahawk was probably my top because it just, the scale of it. I'm inadequate compared to you guys. I never had a flag. Sorry, but or John from the Pint. I wasn't rich like him. But so I think the Night Raven, of course, was cool. I had that, and I was really psyched on that. And then so you needed like a vehicle for it to battle, and when the Tomahawk came out, I was super psyched on that, and still have that too.
Yeah, that's can't go wrong with those choices. So you mentioned Jinx. So were you a G.I. Joe movie lover or hater, or where do you stand on that?
No, and I mean, I definitely watched them at the time. But I really can't remember. I can't remember much about it. I watched the TV show, but I was more about playing with the figures and the toys, and I was a kid from the 80s, so really into action figures and like models of like airplanes and things. And so like GI Joe kind of bridged that gap of like, it was a little more exciting. As far as playing, you could actually play with them as opposed to just some stagnant things.
All right. So that's so were you a comic book kid at all, or no? Not,
I had a few, but not really. I mean, I think I got into comics after GI Joe, and I had there was another collection of things that I then had to cut myself off on. It still is. Every time I'm at a comic convention, I'm like, oh, I really want to get into comics again, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. I gotta cut myself off at this point.
I don't recommend it because I was like, I'm just going to read Green Arrow because I've always loved Green Arrow. Now it's Batman, Green Lantern. I got like 10 DC books now that I get.
Yeah, they're all gateways. They're gateway drugs, like to more toys. Yeah. And that's most collecting, and that's I definitely have gone through my phases of collections, and I try and minimize that now because I've learned in my elder years here, like, okay, you're not going to just buy one or like, oh, let me just buy this comic. And here, the next thing you know, you have a whole pile of them that then I barely get around to reading.
If I get to that point, I stop buying.
Yeah.
I've done that 2 or 3 times. I'm like, you know what? I've been buying comics. I'm not reading them. I'm just going to quit for a while.
Yeah.
But when I get to where I want to read, I just get a whole bunch. I just keep reading and reading.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, I mean, the one thing is, this is an audio podcast, so people can't see the screen we're talking about. Is Sal put down as his name in his window is Sergeant Sal Lauder. So I mean, Sal's all about the puns.
I got that figure here somewhere too. My Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, well, he's the best.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah. And well, speaking of puns, we'll talk a little bit more about Robert Baron Inc. in a little bit because I don't know. I think we're good, right, guys? I think we're ready to wrap up.
I mean, there's so much to this vehicle. Does this count? I mean, it's a vehicle, but barely. That vehicle you can fit in your backpack.
A vehicle you can fit into your action figures backpack.
Yeah.
Poorly. You know what this is? In 1989, they came out with Stalker version 2, and he had the kayak. This is almost about the same size as that kayak, and that was a carded figure.
Yeah.
So Sal, do you have any idea what I'm talking about right now?
No.
Oh, we got to fix that.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. That okay. He's got that on his back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like he's like, hold my beer for the Manta.
Yeah, I mean it's it's yeah. So if you thought the Manta was hard for him to walk hunched over.
Yeah, I would love to see like the two of these guys together. They're probably, lugging their gear like, why us?
They're so the other activity that or the accessory they should have is the lifting belt.
Yeah.
And then and then Doc and Lifeline are like treating their hernias.
Yeah.
And that concludes this Missal for the Masses. This has been the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, and thank you for listening. The Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is hosted by Spotify for podcasters and is also found on many of the other popular podcatchers. Please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with them, as it only helps to improve and grow this podcast.
And you can follow us at Robber Barons Inc. on all the social medias, or check out our website, robberbaronsinc.com, where we got a selection of pop culture, nerdy fandom style t-shirts that Gary owns most of. No kickbacks though, sorry. Thanks for having me. It's been great to finally get on here, and you've always been a good supporter of us, so that's much appreciated.
It's easy to support things you actually enjoy and like, and I paid for every shirt, and
Yeah.
I pimp them. I love wearing them. I almost exclusively wear your t-shirts.
Awesome. Yeah, and you can check us out at conventions, we got coming up, and if you're in the Connecticut area, which is where we see you a lot, we got CT Horror Fest coming up, Terrificon, all kinds of things in the Connecticut, Massachusetts area.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to work on getting some GI Joe shirts into the equation. You got the pork chop sandwiches button.
Yeah, we do. That's just, we got to have a little, show our fandom there a little bit, but we got to talk about some ideas, because there could be some stuff we got to work on, the right ideas.
And during before our talk before the show started, Casey did mention it's 8 weeks before Joe Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a booth.
Okay, so we definitely got to talk then. No pressure.
Yeah. So if anybody got my t-shirts from 2 years ago, Sal's the guy that made them. So like I said, you've been a great friend, and and honestly, thanks to John for introducing us, and also just like I said, just really great shirts. They're so comfortable.
Thanks. And I should say also, we do custom stuff. So if people are interested, I rarely plug that, but if you got something you need shirts, definitely hit us up and say you're a listener of the pod, and we'll hook you up.
So so for more Chaplain's Motor Pod, and no, I'll do that over again. For more Chaplain's Motor Pod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and X, or you can send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com.
And if you want to get in touch with me, podcastfromthepit@gmail.com. We have a very active Facebook group, which is a lot of fun. And of course, every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. Get your cereal, your coffee, and just some early morning cartoons.
The Chaplain Sisters Mortar Pod is the strange but not estranged, nerdy little brother of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. And I'm saying that so this way he doesn't surf on over from across town. And with all of that said and done, one final missile for the masses: be decent to one another.
Take care, everybody.